Welcome back to Profits of IT. I'm Jim Punzenberger, your host, also, also author of $0 Advertising Strategies. And this episode is brought to you by ManageProspectingSystem.com, the system I built after owning and selling my own IT company. It's authority content, LinkedIn outreach, targeted email, three pillars done for you every week. So check out ManageProspectingSystem.com after the show. I'm excited that today I have a fellow Wisconsinite on the show, somebody that I've also known since pretty much I was in diapers. Well, I guess he was in diapers because I'm slightly older than him, so I wasn't in diapers. But he's Joe Lord. He's something a little different than our typical guest in that comes from mining and not IT. But he's the VP of Sales at Turner Staffing Group. He's in the middle of massive growth after winning several large mining projects. He films hunting TV shows, and his walk-up song is Be Legendary. Well, Joe, welcome to Profits of IT. Why don't you tell us and the audience a little bit more about Turner Staffing and what you're building today?
Yeah, thanks, Jim, for having me. I appreciate it. Awesome, obviously, to be able to share this experience after knowing you for the 40 years of my life, pretty much. Um, but yeah, so Joe Lord, Vice President of Sales for Turner Staffing Group. Turner Staffing Group is pretty much a mining and heavy civil construction staffing firm that was built from a mining company called Turner Mining Group. So that's kind of how we get here. I've been here for a couple years now. A little bit of history on the company. Turner Mining Group was built just on good culture and hiring basically the best of the best people, and really satisfying the need for like solid candidates for the ability to grow a surface mining company. And through that, the last coming up on 10 years now, um, we did such a good job, recruiting people and building these robust recruiting systems for that particular industry that a lot of our current customers and contracts that we had just asked for people in the industry outside of running our equipment and bringing all that. So today we work in probably four or five different industries. The growth, I mean, it's not a question because of where we're at, in society, especially in the trades right now. We'd be growing probably either way, but our ability to staff, in very remote locations, all over the country, and really some of the hardest work in the country, is pretty much unbeatable right now. So have an awesome team spread out all over the country. I sit remotely here from Milwaukee, and yeah, we're based in Bloomington, Indiana.
Sounds like exciting times.
Yeah, big time.
And so before earlier when we met, you had told me the biggest misconception about mining is that it's dirty, unsafe, lacking technology. You say conventional wisdom drives you crazy, and this is always the way it's always been mentality, or this is the way it's always been done mentality. And you also said that things that people tend to overcomplicate things, and what they overcomplicate most is communication. You want to expand on your truths here and how you come about these?
Yeah, so just in general, I mean, I've been in mining now probably close to 13, maybe coming up on 14 years. I was a global director of sales for a mining manufacturer who supported the equipment, Komatsu and Caterpillar stuff all over the country. So I've been traveling in mines pretty much every other week for 13 years. So I've seen a lot of stuff. And, you know, just in general, mining as an industry has always kind of been pushing a rope uphill for, just getting, laws passed and, just mining reform in general. But, the biggest misconception around that, especially with the youth today, is just not understanding, that everything that is not farmed is literally mined or brought out of the earth. Everything in your cell phone, everything that we use in technology is all based on metals, critical minerals, pretty much all of that. So, with that being said, everybody links mining to like Zoolander, Canary, you're dirty, it's unsafe, you're gonna get blown up. And, some of that is true in third world countries where, it's a way of life, but, not by choice, right? In the United States, it's probably one of the safest working environments in the country. Yes, it's a dangerous environment, but the regulations that MSHA holds all of mine sites to is incredible. So, kind of knocking that misconception that it is not a dirty spot. You know what I mean? They have
Hmm.
everything that you would need to basically do it safely and efficiently. Another big misconception is that, there's really no growth or technology in mining. Everybody would be, I mean, even you, Jim, would be shocked to know how much AI is integrated in autonomous
Hmm.
vehicles and, how to make like mine slope technology. The amount of technology is incredible, and the amount of engineers that they're hiring in this space is, it would really blow somebody's mind. So, with that being said, also, the ability to grow in an industry like that, there is so much money to be made, for somebody working in the trades, from top to bottom in a mine site that people just aren't really exposed to, that in this industry. So, with that being said, some other things like on top of that, there are a lot of people retiring right now. A lot of that wisdom is leaving the mine site. And, that's one of the other things when you get into a mining role, a lot of those old school guys who have worked their entire life and doing it one way, they have that mentality inside. And that's kind of true in really most harsh environments,
Hmm.
because it's kind of feast or famine deal. But, you know, the, the point in that the technology that's coming in and the ability for new minds to get in and like show the different ways that things can be done. It's really pretty exciting time to be, in the industry. And then, to kind of wrap it up, in terms of, the communication stuff, it's the biggest issue that we have, and that's working through different departments, corporate office versus, pit versus processing and all of like the vendors around mining, and this is true probably across the board, but the communication, like people getting, in their own way and just assuming the thoughts of somebody else and not picking up the phone and, not being kind of a yes man. Not that you need to, but, in today's kind of world, that communication has to be more open-minded, to get these ideas through and, allow to adapt for better efficiencies and, essentially better production. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's shift gears here a moment and talk about superpower or your superpower more specifically, Joe. And when we talked earlier, you said that your superpower is building strong relationships quickly. And when I asked how you developed it, you just said, I just be myself. So can you tell us more about that and any tips on others that would like to be better at building strong relationships quickly?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm an accountant by trade. I went to school for my accounting degree. I was a cost accountant for a couple years after college. 2008, bad time to be a fresh accountant, let me tell you. But you know, I was always genuine in, my work ethic and the way that I treated people and connected with people. And that's kind of how sales found me. I never was really looking for a sales type role, but it really found me because everybody said, "Hey, you're so good with people. Go on the road for us and do this and do that. You should get into marketing more because of your personality." And, some of it's natural, but you also have to really you have to be so aware of your environment and like people who are not themselves and genuinely, whether that's good or bad or whatever on the relationship side, you get yourself down a pretty deep hole of misconceptions and trying to follow through on things that you can't be genuine about. So for me, you know I love people. I love hate people. I love hanging out with people. I love partying. I love it all. Like the whole thing. But at the end of the day, like I like hearing everybody's story and, being a supporting guy, working for, now a service company, the ability to solve somebody's problem and doing it through the relationship is huge for me. And the stronger relationships, I can build, the stronger business, I can build as well. And the more trust that we have to get things over the line. So, it is my superpower, really because I focus on it and really lean into it. But, I'd say advice that I would give to somebody is like, just be yourself. Figure out what you're good at, what type of people you get along with, and then, build strengths around that and really lean into that stuff and be confident and proud of it, the whole time. And that's going to end up, bearing a lot of fruit, whether you're selling something or, performing some sort of task, like either way, having that relationship, you're going to know the answers and get to the truth of the, solution that you're trying to, basically solve for that person. And, kind of the last little part to that is really like, don't fake it. Just like a lot of people go through life, like the hustle of sales and the hustle of this or that, fake it till you make it. Like, don't sit in a room and fake it. Ask questions and tell somebody that you'll get back to them. You would be shocked the level of trust and bringing that relationship from A to B to A to E to A to, eventually Z, will help you. And, a big kind of pro tip I would say is, before you walk into a cold room, like do as much research as you can on everybody that you're working with. Jim, running businesses for your whole life, doing
Yes.
probably full sales cycle as well. You understand that you don't just pick up the phone and say, "Hey, I'm here to sell you this service." They get those calls, 30, 40 times a day, right? Especially somebody of high importance. Make sure that you show somebody that you know them even before. So I do a ton of pre-research on somebody before I make a cold call and make sure it's as absolutely as warm as possible. And then from there, understanding what, even their personal likes could be and tying that into the conversation is hugely important from getting somebody over that edge of a front end, relationship. So.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense also. It's thank you for sharing that. And Joe, now the floor is yours to tell us more about what's happening at Turner Staffing Group and what do you think people should be excited about with Turner?
Yeah, so there's so much to come. I mean, we're constantly dabbling in new industries, and the biggest thing, with Turner is the ability to attract talent. The Turner Mining Group and Turner Staffing Group brand is extremely strong, and we're not a giant company at all. There might be 30, potentially 40 of us, like in the core, office workers, I should say, but we're about 1,000 deep across the country. It's owned by a 36-year-old named Keaton Turner, and my president Thomas Hahn, and collectively, we are focused on building this brand to attract talent. So we don't necessarily have to go turning over as many rocks. We have a lot of people coming to us. So to give you an idea, we might be able to fill, I would say 400 to 500 open roles with any customer and our own, mining contract obligations, but we get about 50,000 applicants. Oh, those are all U.S. applicants. So, it tells you, people in that bubble, and this is just in mining, right? Not a very big
Hmm.
industry, impactful industry, but to have 50,000 US based applicants to the positions that we post is a huge deal. But then executing on that, we have we follow our core values to the heart. I mean, we are very good to our people. We treat our contractors great, offer incredible benefits, and we've doubled pretty much every 2 years since we have started. That includes this last January. We have doubled in size and revenue and headcount. So, pretty insane deal. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast. And we get to do a lot of very technical roles in this space as well. So, on your side on like the IT and
Hmm.
support and all of that, it's been an absolute blast. And we have different teams, to kind of support all that. And I had the spear and do a lot of the more business development stuff as executive vice president of sales and building kind of the structure of the business that we take in and those clients that we work with. But our teams are great and it's been a blast.
So Joe, if somebody would like to reach out to you or get in contact with you, what would be a great way of doing that?
Yeah, I'm on all socials. Definitely get me on LinkedIn. I'm a huge advocate of LinkedIn. Another cheat code for business for anybody, utilizing LinkedIn, on a professional note to be able to connect with people, and stay on top of what people are doing. But I'm on LinkedIn. You can get me on email at joe.lord@turnerstaffing.com. And I'll even throw out my cell phone number. If you really have any questions, it's 262-239-2432. So.
And we'll include those in the show notes. So check the show notes for that information. Well, Joe, thank you for your time today and your willingness to share.
You bet. Thanks a lot, Jim. I appreciate it, man. Keep killing it.
Will do. And it's been another episode of Profits of IT. Don't forget to stay hydrated and caffeinated. Bye for now.
See ya.